I'm not going to risk my dwarves that I am the ruler of in order for you elves to stay immortal. Welcome to the real world. This is how everyone else lives. Hey everyone, my name's Nick.
And I'm Ray, and welcome to... Today we're going to be talking about Episode 7, Rings of Power, and really the return of the Harfoots. And at least, I'll say this, they got some skin in the game now. They're still doing They're still doing some dumb shit, but they got some skin in the game now. I mean, their whole caravan was burned.
Yeah, I guess so. I was disappointed that none of them died.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for the dad to die.
Even a complete nobody Harfoot that we haven't even interacted with.
Yeah.
Because, and this is something, I was going to kind of get into this a little bit later, but since you brought it up, I'll bring it up now. This is something that I think, and I don't think it needs to have me say it blatantly, but I will anyway. Game of Thrones did a fantastic job in making you feel that none of your characters are safe.
Yeah.
Now, I think that and by they, I mean the original author, because that's obviously what he did. George R.R. Martin does a great job at making none of the characters safe.
Yeah.
And I think he took it a little too far for my taste, just my personal taste. He took it a little too far where it's like, basically, if you like a main character, they're probably going to die. But I think this show is going in the opposite direction where, right, skipping ahead a little bit also, Isildur, we obviously know he's not dead.
No, he's dead.
Yeah. So I am 100% sure Isildur is not dead.
Yeah.
None of the Harfoots die. And it seems like they're playing favorites with it. And I wish there was a little bit of uncertainty, and I wish it was just a little more not safe.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest criticisms we've given the show so far is, especially with the Harfoots, it's just too lollygaggy, whimsical. Not even whimsical, because, like, whimsical's fine for the Shire. Right. Hobbits or Harfoots, whatever one you call them. But there's no sense of danger for them at all. And
right.
That is not great for storytelling. But with that, that's why I will say this episode, they finally have some consequences laid upon them.
Yeah, you're totally right.
It's not wolves that popped up and, swatted them away and everything's fine. It's no, their whole caravan's burned this time and whatnot. But anyways, we'll get to that when we talk about the Harfoots.
Yeah.
So let's start off with good old Galadriel, right? They wake up covered in ash and soot, which, okay, so say they don't die from, that pyroclastic smoke, I think it's called. I don't know. I was reading some comments from the last video, and that's what people were saying it's called. Say they survive that. I feel like passed out in ash and soot is going to, suffocate you again. But whatever. Suspending that, right? Suspension of disbelief there.
Sure.
She wakes up, starts looking for someone, finds Theo, and then they kind of just go off on their own while other people are, looking for each other and stuff. It felt weird, the consistency going on there, because there was people looking for people in the village, and they could hear them in the background, and they were like, let's go walk in the woods, you and me.
Yeah. Yes.
It was like,
it is very weird.
Yeah.
And we saw from last episode, and I mean from all of the episodes really, this isn't a big village, right? It's quite small.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't have taken them that long to find anybody else.
Yeah. But
hey, maybe they're so disoriented from getting knocked out, from inhaling all of this toxic ash and smoke from Mount Doom, right? So they're a little out of it. Let's go with that.
Yeah. Queen Muriel finds Isildur finds, I forget that dude's name, Valandiel. Is trying to help him up. Queen Muriel finds him, helps him get Valandiel out, and their friend Otomo is dead. Okay. Sucks for Otomo, right? He was chill, but also the death had no real impact because he was just kind of there. But
right.
Okay, something motivating for Isildur and Valandiel, right? Cool. Queen Muriel, she's feeling it now too. And they go to help some other stuff, and then a building collapses on Isildur.
And as you said, he's dead now.
He's he's dead. The show is making you believe he's dead, which, okay, you know what? I'm also kind of fine with this one for the most part because everything's clouded. No one can see. They go, everything's on fire. They're like, well, he's probably dead. I think you kind of look for him first and verify. But they all meet back up with Elendil, right? Now there's a whole caravan of people. So I'm guessing what happened was in the timeline, it's like not everyone got knocked out, and all the people who weren't unconscious kind of got together and started going and left the bodies, which, okay, cool. Again, you can't see, disorienting.
Yep.
But then those survivor groups that were still in the village went on their way. Cool. As a whole, this kind of felt fine. I'm glad they didn't make like Galadriel do some like shit and like keep everybody safe. So there's that.
I'm glad you're right. I'm glad there was some real consequences. The only issue that I have, I really don't like Elendil's attitude here. I think it's totally out of character for him to blame Galadriel.
Yeah.
I understand he's totally distraught and in grief because his son is to him, dead. Yeah. But even with that, I can never see his character going and blaming Galadriel for that.
I don't know. Yeah, I think they just handled it weird in general with him. So really, I think the big consequences from this episode for this storyline, if you will, is Elendil's. What's the word? He grew jaded from it almost. Right? He's grieving his son. Cool. Understandable. Finds out his queen is blind, and he kind of just stands there, which I felt was a little out of character for him, too. I felt like he would have, come on, let's go. Right away. But then at the end there, when Galadriel, shows up and whatnot, and Muriel's like captain, and he's just, it pans to his face, and he's just
on the brink of tears because she decided to
go to war.
Yeah.
With a threat that is now proven to be there. They were worried about it at first because everyone thinks Galadriel's just talking smoke out of her ass. And they just verified there's some fuckery going on. They just blew up a mountain on us. They just blew up a volcano on us. Okay, hold on. We might need help,
Yeah.
It's war. Elendil has been in war, right? I mean, why is he all of a sudden like, oh, well, my son's dead, so now fuck that.
Yeah, I definitely understand that he would be blaming something or someone, but even blaming, like, why would he not be blaming himself or blaming the Queen Regent? Or because I mean, he's the one that allowed his son to come when he originally wasn't. So to me, it's like, oh, Elendil's 100% going to be blaming himself for his son's death. And like I said, it felt and feels totally out of character for Elendil to be blaming Galadriel. Like, Galadriel, it had nothing to do with it. What, she was the one who asked for help? Like, how was that even
help? I specifically want your kid to come with me and to die from a fucking volcano that randomly erupts.
There's that to me is the only thing in this like little story block that I really didn't like.
Yeah. So this storyline, for the most part, I thought wrapped up the aftermath of a volcano like that pretty decently.
And might I say, I was sorry to cut you off. I was very surprised that they even included this. I thought for sure that they were just going to leave it at that, right? The last scene we saw in episode 6 was Galadriel getting covered in smoke, and then boom, that was it, right? I thought for sure they were just going to leave that for next season and then go to like maybe an episode with the Harfoots and then another episode with Elrond and Durin. So I'm glad that they didn't. I think this was a good decision.
Yeah. And that's why I really liked the inclusion of it this episode. I mean, I thought it was going to be a complete like Harfoot episode or something. And like you said, it's great that they actually added this in. And I thought it wrapped it up really nicely for the most part. There's some inconsistencies. What the fuck ever, honestly. It's nothing too bad. The only big issue I had with this really was two things. Elendil's character. Because it felt completely out of character. It really did. But grieving the death of a son, okay. But then the other one is Halbrand. He, has a wound, and it turns sour, and he's like laying on a bed like dying, and she's
Yeah.
like, he needs elvish medicine. I'll take him on a 3-month fucking journey to the nearest elven settlement.
And he just
gets up. He just gets up and he just walks out. He's like, do, right? And you're like, wait,
he was just laid out on a bed, like totally laid out, and now he's just able to ride perfectly fine on his own. What?
No, that's you help him onto the horse and you like give him. Yeah. Anyways, but that's a little thing too, right? Especially if he is Sauron, in which case, he can move just fine.
He's just faking it.
Yeah, but overall, that storyline I thought was pretty decent this episode. It wrapped up as it should have, a big catastrophe. And for the most part, it effectively showed it well, So, for the most part, I liked that part.
Yeah, I think it definitely, I think it could have been a lot worse. So, I was not disappointed with that. And like you said, for me, same issues that I had. So,
yeah. Now, let's go to the Elrond Durin storyline, which I really enjoyed this episode, actually. I thought there's a lot of good character development going on with Prince Durin and seeing his dad's kind of a boomer, right? He's a boomer, unable to change.
What's funny, too, is, I mean, his dad was kind of right. We see at the end of the episode, I didn't disagree with his dad.
Well, so I agree with Durin.
King Durin or
Durin
Prince
Jr.
Durin?
Prince
Okay.
Durin.
Prince Durin the Fourth. Got it.
Yeah, because they have no idea a Balrog is down there.
No, I understand that. And what I'm saying, I kind of agreed with King Durin's decision even before that.
Let the elves die?
Look, the elves are immortal. So it's like, is the king really going to put his people at risk to save the elves from facing the reality that every other race has to face?
Well, yeah. 100%, yeah. I mean, what do you mean? Hey, guys, look, we love to mine, okay? But sometimes you get a little deep, it gets dangerous, right? We've dealt with cave-ins. Well, this race comes to you and it's like, hey, look, we're immortal. We're becoming mortal. Not a fan of it. We were made to be immortal, and whatever fucked it up, the Silmarils, right, which the dwarves had a hand in, right? They stole a Silmaril from the elves, once went to war against the elves over it, right? So dwarves aren't all, good here, but they come to them for help, pleading for help, with a good exchange, in return investment, 500 years, you can have like 10% of the mithril or some shit and we'll get all this stuff. That's, mind you, no Balrog knowledge. Now, if I know there's a Balrog down there, it's like, nope, we're not. Yeah. I'm sorry. We're not. Unless you send an army down there to kill it, right? You kill it for us, then yes. Unless that happens, so no.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I think Prince Durin here is in the right. Because at the end of the day, they already mined to begin with, and they're already at risk of tunnel collapses to begin with, right? You have a whole group of people asking for help for stuff you're good at. Just do it.
Yeah, so in exchange for, the offer that he's given, maybe it is worth it. But to me, I'm still on the king side here. I'm still on King Durin's side. It's like, I understand Prince Durin wants to help his friend. I understand that reasoning. That's cool. He wants to help his friend. He doesn't necessarily even care. Yeah, he doesn't even necessarily care about the rest of the elves. It's like, look, my friend who I consider a brother, basically,
my homie,
needs my help. And so I understand him. But King Durin's looking at the big picture and he's like, I'm not going to risk my dwarves that I am the ruler of in order for you elves to stay immortal. Welcome to the real world. This is how everyone else lives.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think it's dumb because they could use mithril for themselves too for a lot of great purposes. It's a win-win really because eventually they're going to mine it.
No, that is true.
And this is 500 years of extra shit on top of that. That's like just a good trade deal.
Yes. As just a deal is concerned, it probably is.
But
lucrative.
I'm curious why King Durin is so against it because I don't think it's just the dwarves' livelihood. I think he might know something about something being. I think he He might know there's like a Balrog down there. Maybe
Oh,
there's
you
like
think so?
ancient texts for only dwarven kings, you know?
Maybe.
It's like, hey,
Or
there's a monster down there. Don't fucking do it.
maybe. Or it could just be plain old animosity and hate, between the elves and the dwarves. And he's like, look, I don't like dwarves anyway, so why am I going to help them?
He is a dwarf.
Or excuse me, you're right. I don't like elves anyway. Why am I going to help them?
Yeah.
But yeah, either way,
the
it
whole
would be a lot.
character arc there for Durin, Prince Durin, though, I thought was pretty good.
Yeah.
Because he was
I do
like
too.
standing up for himself. He was saying some legit shit. And his dad, the king, was like, you're going to rip this off. You're no longer inheriting me.
Yeah.
Me. Right?
Yeah. So was he disowned there? Did he like,
I don't think he
not?
was disowned, maybe disinherited.
You think so? Because
Maybe.
it wasn't, and that was the impression that I got as well, but it wasn't actually said. So I was like, yeah, it seemed like he was. You're right, disinherited, disowned, even, and then, man, Disa, his wife, at the end, talking like she's gonna start a coup or something. I was like, oh
Sounded
geez,
like, yeah,
they're gonna
sounded like
overthrow. They're gonna murder his dad in the night, like.
But that's another
Jeez.
thing that they kind of missed, right? Here is that Prince Durin is going to be King Durin, right? Before all this happens, before his big fight with his dad.
Okay.
So Durin's like, dude, my dad said no, but check it. Can you guys wait 10, 20 years? Because then I'll be king. I mean, you guys are immortal right now. You can wait 10 to 20 years, right? That's like 2 days for you.
Dude.
And then,
You're total-
what's up? We'll do it.
Yeah. I honestly, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, you're totally right.
That's what I would have done.
It was already established in episode 2 that 20 years is the blink of an eye. Like, for elves, they wouldn't even notice 20 years. So, yeah. That's a good point.
Instead,
why
he
wouldn't
goes and
they?
gets himself disinherited. Way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Why wouldn't they just wait a
'Cause
couple of
passion.
decades?
Throes of passion. But anyways, that's some stuff, people can miss in real life, easily.
Yeah, but I feel like it's on Elrond to not have said that. Like, you're totally, and obviously it wouldn't make as good of a story, right? If they just waited 20, 30 years and then did it later, right? That's the reason. That's the classic. Why didn't Frodo just take the eagles to
Because then there would have been a journey.
right.
Yeah.
So obviously, but yeah, that for them to establish how elves like don't perceive time the same as other races, and then for them to all of a sudden not have Elrond be like, oh hey, it's totally fine if we just wait 50 years. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
I'll come back when you're king, and we'll just mine that then.
Yeah.
Done deal.
But yeah, no, honestly, this episode felt really good for Prince Durin. And, dude, what a ride or die wife he has. Straight up. She was like, hey, you're going to be king. Even if you just got this, you're not your brothers. It's going to be you. Trust. And I'm going to be queen. We're doing this together, you and me. It's kind of wife I would want.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fine. So that's going to be an interesting next episode for them to see what it turns into. Is it going to turn into a coup, do you think, or what?
I don't know. That was just, and I don't know if it was just like the actress and how it came off, right? It came off super aggressive to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, dang, they're going to do a revolt, right? A rebellion.
Yeah.
There's going to be something going on here where they're literally just going to
overthrow his dad.
Just assassinate him in the night, right?
I don't know about that one. I don't think they're going to do that.
You think they'll overthrow him, but they won't just kill him and like have him inherit it anyway?
Yeah, be like, all right, hey pops, you're going to Florida. You're getting retired. Okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
Maybe.
Yeah, this storyline I didn't really see anything wrong with. I thought it was good for me. I enjoyed it. I though really enjoy the actors. Like they have a chemistry together, so
Yeah, I think the Elrond and Durin actors they do a good job together.
Yeah.
They're really good together. And as we had hoped in our last review of episode 6, that we got to see a Balrog. A Balrog did get introduced in this episode, so that was pretty cool.
So so the Balrog down there. Question: what's he doing down there? Is he just chilling? Because he didn't look chained up or anything. He was just kind of down there, just chilling.
He was sleeping, so he was still recovering from the battle that happened 2, 3, 4,000 years ago, whatever that was.
So I know Balrogs go into hibernation, but why did the leaf just like wake him up? Why the fuck did that happen?
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that was a really stupid way.
Yeah,
I would have liked
the leaf
to see
land on his head to wake him up, not like 30 meters in front of him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, or have like a rock fall to actually do something of substance. Because you're telling me over millennia, not a single rock fell down that shaft next to that Balrog and woke him? Like, yeah, was
the lightest sleeper in the world, that Balrog is.
Yeah.
That dude said, who the fuck threw a leaf at me, dude?
Yeah. Yeah. Really something inconsequential to this giant beast, right? It's really, that was dumb. But
on the lore side, I'm not sure if any Balrogs were active during the Second Age, but we do know there is a Balrog that resides in the mines of Moria.
Right.
So I'm honestly kind of fine with it completely because I love Balrogs. I just love them. So
yeah, and I had mentioned this last one. I'm with you. I also don't think that Balrogs are supposed to be in this age at all, like period. But yeah, I'm also fine with it. I had mentioned in the last one, I'll mention again. I know the purists for this are going to be upset about it,
and they shouldn't be because it's a fucking Balrog, dude. They're so dope. Be glad you're seeing one animated really well. Like, be happy. It's dope. You know?
Yeah, I think they're cool enough, and it's not going to be. It's not such a big impact that it'll make anything bad. So I'm totally fine with it.
Unless it comes out and just starts killing everyone, and then like pops up and starts attacking the Harfoots. In which case, you got a Balrog on the loose. Okay, that's not okay. But a Balrog teaser, I'm happy with.
Yeah, I like it.
But yeah, so that storyline I thought did really well too. And I want to point out before we move to the Harfoots that the actual cuts between the stories this episode I thought were really good too. Nothing felt like the momentum was thrown off too much, you know. There was no random slow-mo I did not think was unnecessary. I thought this episode was much better from a cinematography standpoint, from a storyboarding standpoint. Sure. You still got some weakness in dialogue and whatnot, you know, which, whatever. We talk about that. The writers are typically the issue here. This episode, though, actually felt sequenced properly, if you will.
I'd agree with that. The sequencing was fine. The cut from story to story, right, from the Galadriel, Theo, like all of them, it cut well. I 100% agree. I think the dialogue was still really clunky, and I did not care for it whatsoever.
And we're about to get to the clunky dialogue portion now. The Harfoots. Our hearts are even larger than our feet.
Yeah.
Dude.
That was a great speech. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it was not.
It gave me chills.
It gave me cringe. Harfoots happen, and you got wizard guy, not Gandalf, totally Gandalf, wizard man, start speaking at the tree, right? And Sadoc's like, you know, everyone's, oh, what you doing? Sadoc's like, he's saying little words for the tree, and they're like, trees can't talk. He's like, some do, which I kind of loved that, actually.
Yeah.
Kind of actually liked that. And then the tree starts cracking, right? And they think he's healing the tree, which we know he is. But then the dumbest fucking shit happens again. Dude, that Brandyfoot bloodline is the dumbest fucking bloodline in the world. Straight up. Okay, you have Nori go touch ice as he's healing himself, right? And then get freaked out. And then you have him healing a tree, and the little daughter runs up and is like, oh, what's he doing? And tree branch falls. Like, if he's doing some magic, stand the fuck back.
Yeah. And I'm
like, Jesus.
Not only that, Nori does the dumbest thing again in this episode as well. But yeah, why are you gonna go forward? And why does nobody grab her and stop her?
They end up just fucking kicking him out. They're like, all right, go that way, dude. You're being weird, you know.
At least they were nice. They were nice to him about it, though. That was cool.
They were
like, hey, look, we can't really help you. There's big people that way.
It might be able to
Just
help.
go.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
So next day goes by, right, and they wake up and boom, everything's regrown. All that vegetation's there, the trees, everything's fixed, and they're like, oh shit, you actually did heal it. Well, let's pick the food and not go grab them, fucking leave them. You're not gonna go get the dude who can do good magic?
I mean, to be fair to the Harfoots,
They're dumb.
He fixed it. They got the food now. When he's a giant to them. He's walked twice as far as they could ever walk in a day to be able to catch up to him. So
yeah, but still, that's an opportunity I'm not missing up,
Yeah.
Especially if I'm a hobbit or Harfoot, say, who's entrepreneurial at all. I'm gonna be like, oh, this is my dude to get like good fruits and stuff.
I don't think any of them are. I don't think they're like a capitalistic tribe. I believe they're very social, just like, hey, everyone pick your own food. Let's like share.
But then
they have a small enough caravan to be able to do that fine.
Yeah. So then it just kind of goes through some just dialogue and whatever. It's all boring. And then that night, those cultist people show up. Okay, and they inspect the tree, and everyone's hiding, watching them. What are these big folk doing? And what does Nori do?
Yells to them like, what the heck?
What does she even say? I don't remember.
He's not that way. He's actually this way. Like trying to lay a false trail for them, even though they obviously already know.
Yeah.
But the absolute dumbest thing you could have ever done. Like, these really weird, creepy people are apparently, and she obviously knows that they're going to follow him because she's trying to lay a false trail. This is where I wish they would have like done some real damage and killed some people, like put a little skin in the game. But you're right, at least they did destroy the whole caravan. At least something bad happened.
So here's a weird thing, and here's my question. Okay, so Nori, says that. They go over there, and they're like, and then her dad comes out. It's like, oh, I'll brain you. I got a torch, right? And, and then that chick sucks up the fire and then blows it on it. She's a witch. She can use magic. What's going on? Who is she now?
Yes.
Who can use magic like that?
I don't know. I don't know that. I'm not deep enough into the lore to be able to say. I guess the only time that I remember seeing magic in the Peter Jackson films, for instance, is in the extended version of The Lord of the Rings. The Two Towers.
That Saruman
the
shoots.
fire. Exactly. That's the only time I ever remember seeing any sort of magic similar to that being done.
Yeah, so there's only two other examples I can think of off the top of my head, and that'd be Gandalf shining a flashlight at the Nazgul as they're,
like you said, a flashlight. Yeah.
And then when he's fighting the Balrog, the whole "you shall not pass."
Yeah.
The barrier he erected around himself, essentially.
But even that wasn't so. You're right. That is something that happened, but it wasn't very visual. Nothing really to go and like attack the Balrog. That's just like a defensive thing, and all it did was apparently collapse the bridge. So,
but. Yeah, so I don't know if elves can use magic, and anyone watching this, if just comment below onto what she could be. Is she human or elf or what's going on here? Because she just sucked up some fucking fire, dude. And she blows fire on the caravan, burns it all down, and they just leave.
Yeah,
I would have definitely liked to see them just fucking chop off Malva's head. That would have been dope, or to kill Nori's friend. Poppy or whatever her name is,
Who's is Malva the annoying lady?
The old lady, yeah. And so then they set off in the morning with the trail finder, Sadok, right, in order to go track the big man down to help him. And they send two children and Sadok, to go fucking fight some big people, I guess.
True.
And then was there four of them who went or three?
Yeah, Nori's mom also went.
Yeah, not a good fighting.
I mean, none of the Harfoots are good fighting people.
Tell that to Samwise Gamgee. Okay, fucking beating orcs up with fucking frying pans and shit.
So one thing I took issue with, Malva, I don't understand. She said that Nori was right, and Nori has always been right.
Brandyfoot girl was right to help him. Was right all along.
How? I don't know how no one was so pissed off at her.
Wait, are you
Like,
talking
what?
about when Sadok was like, when Malva was like, you know what, Nori was right this whole time, and Sadok was like, you know, you're always right, and that's your issue.
You know, Malva, just once, it would be grand if you weren't right all the time.
Yeah.
That part?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That whole-
When that happened, dude, I was like, what?
Yeah, I was like, this makes no sense. First off, Nori just destroyed all of your guys' carts. How could you even think about saying she's right?
Because
like,
the
sure,
big man knows magic.
yeah, that is true. She was right that he was helpful, but it's like, how can anyone? I don't know how anyone would be able to think, especially this extremely pessimistic, annoying Harfoot lady, right? That's always mad at everybody. All of a sudden is on Nori's side.
Do you know why?
I don't believe it.
Because we're Harfoots and we stay true to each other.
True.
Our hearts are even larger than our feet.
No, that was so dumb. It's like, I think that, I mean, that's obviously just I think the writers just did a terrible job with that. It's like, Nori can do no wrong now. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Nori just is responsible for destroying all the carts, all the food.
I mean,
and you have everyone on.
Magic Bitch is responsible for that.
Why would Nori even say a word?
Well, no,
If
okay,
she-
so she is dumb
if she
in
just-
that front, yes.
If she just kept quiet, said nothing, guess what? She'd still be in the same situation. Instead, she had to yell at these magic people. And to be fair, she didn't know they were magic. But big people bad, right? That's the whole Harfoot way.
Yeah.
And instead, she yells at these big people, hey, he went that way. And some bad things happen and no one's mad at her. Like, come on.
So, I mean, that's Harfoot's storyline. It's just I'm just not a fan of it. But this whole episode, I thought, had better storylines across the board for all the characters.
I agree.
I thought all of them were written more consistently this episode, right? And I think the pacing pays so much to that. And I actually kind of enjoyed this episode. I did. But there's one last scene we got to talk about. Poor Waldreg. You know, just like, hey, Adar, you know, Sauron dead? No answer. Hey, Adar, what do we call this place now? No fucking answer. Just nothing. He's just ignoring Waldreg, dude. Poor Waldreg.
To me, this scene ruined the end of this episode.
Yes,
to
it
me.
did.
Why the hell? Why didn't you just have him say Mordor? Why did you put up the Southlands and then burn it away and do more? It was so random.
Have you never heard show, don't tell?
It's not the same whenever you write it down.
They showed it. They showed it.
You're right. They made me read it. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
No, I 100%
it totally
agree with you.
Yeah, that totally ruined the pace of it. It totally ruined the ending of it. I think it still would have been kind of corny, kind of cheesy if Adar had been like Mordor, but it would have been better than what they did.
Literally,
I think
that ending of that episode, that felt right. Right? All of it's going right. You know where it's going to go. You know it's going to be a little cliche, but you're like, okay, cool. This makes sense. This is how it should be.
Right.
And then they're just like, you know what? We're not doing what should be. Right? You want show, don't tell. Put it on there. Put it on there.
It was so random, so out of left field.
Yeah. What you actually don't realize is that Adar actually used a magic spell to put it into the air.
Yes.
And burn it, and then put another one below it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He should have just said Mordor. Or however he wanted to say it. Mordor. It doesn't fucking matter. Just say the fucking word and end the episode. And that episode would have been in itself a good episode, I thought.
Yeah. I think it would have.
Though was so fucking dumb.
Yeah. I still think that this episode was probably the second best out of the season so far.
I'd agree.
So far, we only have one episode left, I believe, right?
That'd be the best.
But it still is the second best so far. And that just like marked it down. There was no reason for that. It like I said, it ruined the end of it. I hated that. Yeah. Everything else in that scene with Adar and the orcs and Waldrig was great, and that was totally awful.
But honestly, look, to recap it, okay, to just talk about it as a whole, really. This episode, its set design was actually really good, I thought, from the color the color grading, all that. It was really good. The storylines across the board, a lot more consistent, I thought. However, it still fell into two big main issues, and those issues are the writers.
Yeah.
Again. But this episode, overall, as a whole, I enjoyed it a lot more, and, you know, I would agree with your earlier statement. It's the second best, I think, this season so far.
Yeah, and it sucks, too, because it's like, you know, we see episode 4, and then we see it's like, yeah, they're capable of doing a good job. It's just, it's inconsistent. They have 2 out of 7 so far that are actually good, or, you know, above decent episodes. And it's like, man, I wish they would just consistently do that with the rest of them, so that we could, like, if every other episode was on par with this one, we would have a good show.
Yep.
But overall, so far, to give a brief, and after next episode, we'll also have an overall video about the season, right? Not just an episode 8 review. But we would have a really overall good show. And so far, overall, it's not good, in my opinion. And we have a couple here and there that it's like, that was actually a pretty good one.
It really just shows the inexperience that the showrunners have, which I'm hoping for the following seasons it'll get better, because either way, you will learn how to do stuff more appropriately in the future. Even if you don't pay attention to critiques, right? Or you live in this fucking fantasy world in your head, your storyboarding will get better with practice, just by the nature of you reading your own work and you critiquing your own work, you know? And so hopefully the future seasons are better. And
you had said this last one that the writing staff and the showrunners, or I think mainly the showrunners, were super inexperienced, and it really shows. It really shows. I don't know who the hell was in charge of this, but they messed up.
Yeah. So with that, this concludes episode 7, Rings of Power, Return of the Harfoots. Ray, out.
Thanks for watching.